I'm Daniel Evans, 34, a data scientist living in a high-rise overlooking Chicago's skyline. My life is steady, built on hard work and careful choices, but every Thanksgiving, an old anxiety creeps in. It's not about money. I earn $140,000 a year, invest wisely, and owe nothing to anyone. It's about family, or what passes for it in my world. This year, we're headed to the Emerald Crest, a fancy resort in Seattle, for our annual reunion, all paid for by my grandmother, Margaret Evans. She's a retail magnate, sharp as a tack, and the only one who gets me. She taught me that dignity and independence are worth more than gold, and I've lived by those words. This story is about what happened when my family's shiny surface cracked, and how I found freedom in walking away. Let me paint the picture. My grandmother made her fortune turning small clothing stores into a national chain. From the time I was a kid, she'd sit me down with a lemonade and talk stocks, savings, and self-reliance. "Stand on your own feet, Daniel," she'd say, her eyes bright with conviction. She's the rock of our family, but her wealth casts a long shadow. My parents, Robert and Linda, live a cushy retirement in Arizona, but it's all propped up by Margaret's checks, their condo, their golf club fees, even their health insurance. They've always been distant with me, warm with my brother, Luke, who's 37 and lives like he's starring in a lifestyle ad. Luke's a former consultant who quit to manage investments, which really means living off Margaret's monthly deposits. He's got a wife, Clara, and a 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, and their life screams excess, designer bags, private school for Sophie, steak dinners at places I'd never step foot in. Luke's Instagram is a parade of Rolexes and tropical getaways, captioned with hashtags like #LivingTheDream. But it's a mirage. Without Margaret's money, their mortgage, car loans, and Clara's shopping sprees would collapse. My parents aren't much better. They post about their dream retirement, but their pension wouldn't cover a month of their lifestyle without Margaret's help. It's a family built on her bank account, not love or loyalty. Growing up, the favoritism stung. I was the quiet kid, grinding through school, earning scholarships to cover college, working nights at a diner to pay rent. Luke? He got study abroad stipends, a car, and a free ride through life. My parents called him spirited, they called me too serious. It hurt, but it pushed me to prove I didn't need them. I clawed my way into the tech world, built a career analyzing data for startups, and bought my apartment with my own savings. No debt, no handouts. My life's not flashy. I drive a used sedan, eat takeout, invest the rest, but it's mine. Margaret's proud of that, always saying I'm the only one who listened to her. This year's trip to the Emerald Crest has me on edge. The resort's a masterpiece, all cedar beams and ocean views, with suites costing $800 a night and a Thanksgiving feast at $250 a plate. It's the kind of place Luke loves to flaunt, but for me, it's a reminder of our family's cracks. Every year, the tension grows, Luke's boasts, my parents' bias, Margaret's quiet disappointment as she watches it all. I check my suitcase one last time, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My gray suit's pressed, my face calm, but inside, I'm bracing for a storm. The resort's beauty will be a backdrop to our dysfunction, and something tells me this year, the truth will come spilling out. In the cab to O'Hare, I think about what's waiting in Seattle. Luke will be strutting, Clara dripping in labels, Sophie caught in their orbit. My parents will play along, ignoring me unless it's to nitpick. Margaret will be there, watching, her sharp mind clocking every false note. The Emerald Crest is a stage, and our family's performance is wearing thin. As the city blurs past, I grip my phone, a gift for Sophie, a small journal to write her dreams, tucked in my bag. I want her to know there's more to life than her parents show. Margaret's words echo, "Stand on your own feet." They've carried me this far, and they'll carry me through whatever's coming. The flight from Chicago to Seattle was smooth, but my nerves were anything but. I landed at SeaTac, the November air crisp, and took a taxi to the Emerald Crest, a resort perched on Puget Sound with sweeping views of water and evergreens. Its cedar and glass facade gleamed under the afternoon sun, a Pacific Northwest palace promising luxury. I pulled my charcoal Samsonite suitcase, my navy blazer creased from the trip, and stepped into the lobby. The space was breathtaking: vaulted ceilings, a stone fireplace, chandeliers casting soft light on polished wood floors. Guests in tailored coats sipped cocktails, their laughter mingling with a pianist's soft jazz. But my eyes scanned for my family, and the familiar knot in my chest tightened. I spotted my parents first, huddled near a leather sofa, my mother Linda in a new cashmere sweater, my father Robert in golf casual, murmuring about something. They glanced my way, then looked away, their faces blank. Luke was near the check-in desk, his Armani jacket screaming money, a Tag Heuer glinting on his wrist. Clara stood beside him, a Gucci tote on her arm, while Sophie, in a frilly dress too fancy for a kid, clung to her hand. I nodded at them, but Luke's smirk told me trouble was brewing. I approached the desk, where a young clerk in a crisp blazer tapped at her screen. "Mr. Evans, I'm so sorry," she said, her brow furrowing. "I don't see a reservation under your name." My stomach dropped. She checked again, then looked up, apologetic. "I have rooms for the rest of your party, Mr. Luke Evans, Mr. and Mrs. Robert Evans, but nothing for you." Before I could respond, Luke sauntered over, his grin sharp as a blade. "Oh, Daniel, you made it," he said, voice dripping with mock surprise. The clerk hesitated, glancing between us. Luke leaned in, loud enough for nearby guests to turn. "Yeah, there's no room for you. I booked for the real family, me, Clara, Sophie, Mom, and Dad. You know, the ones who actually matter." The lobby seemed to freeze. The clerk's jaw dropped, my parents turned further away, and Clara adjusted her tote, avoiding my eyes. Sophie looked confused, tugging at her mom's hand. The words hit like a punch, but I kept my face still, years of practice holding me steady. I took a slow breath, my voice low and even. "I see. Then I'll leave." Luke blinked, like he hadn't expected that, but his smirk held. My parents stayed silent, their backs a wall. I nodded to the clerk, who looked like she wanted to disappear, and pulled out my phone, opening a taxi app. "Wait, Daniel," Luke started, but I was already moving, suitcase wheels humming on the wood floor. The lobby's warmth felt suffocating, the chandeliers too bright. I stepped outside, the cool Seattle breeze a relief. Palms and pines swayed gently, and the resort's grand exterior loomed behind me, all glass and timber, decked with Thanksgiving wreaths. I booked a cab to the airport, then checked flights to Chicago. Prices were steep, Thanksgiving fares always are, but I didn't care. The emotional toll of staying felt heavier than any ticket cost. As I waited, I thought of Sophie, her gift still in my bag. I'd wanted to give it to her tonight, maybe tell her to dream big, not just chase her dad's hollow flash. But that moment was gone. Standing there, I felt something shift. Margaret's words rang clear: "Stand on your own feet." I'd always lived by them, but now they felt like armor. This wasn't just about a room, it was about years of being sidelined, tolerated, never valued. Luke's words, "the real family," echoed my childhood, but they didn't break me. They freed me. I didn't need their approval or their fake unity. The taxi pulled up, and I slid in, glancing back at the emerald crest. Its lights glowed against the dusk, a monument to my family's pretense. In the rearview mirror, it shrank, and with it, the weight of their expectations. The driver, a quiet guy with a Seahawks cap, asked, "Rough day?" I just nodded, staring out at Seattle's skyline. The city's mix of steel and green blurred past, and I felt a strange calm. I'd come expecting a fight, but walking away was easier than I'd thought. My phone buzzed, Luke, then my mom, but I silenced it. I didn't owe them an explanation. The resort, the dinner, the whole charade was theirs, not mine. As we neared the airport, I pulled up my banking app, checking my savings. My life, my apartment, my car, my future, was mine, built without their help. For the first time in years, Thanksgiving felt like it might be a holiday, not a battlefield. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the road carry me home. The taxi's hum was a cocoon, shielding me from the world as Seattle's lights faded behind me. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried for years. Luke's words, the real family, still stung, but they'd also cut a chain. I pulled out my phone and dialed Margaret. It rang longer than usual, then her voice came through, steady as ever. "Daniel, what's happened?" I kept it simple, recounting the check-in, Luke's smirk, the missing reservation, and my choice to leave. No tears, no anger, just the facts. I could hear her breathing shift, a quiet fury building, but she didn't interrupt. "I understand," she said finally, her tone low, heavy with intent. "Leave it to me." I thanked her and hung up, the taxi's leather seats cool against my back. Within minutes, my phone erupted. Luke's name flashed first, 5 calls in a row, then a voicemail. "Daniel, come on, Sophie's asking for you." She was so excited for Thanksgiving. "Don't ruin this for her. I've got friends coming to the resort tonight, and it's gonna look bad if you're not here. Think about the family Instagram posts." His voice was a mix of guilt trip and panic, like he sensed a storm coming. I deleted it. Then came texts, "You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Just get another room." My parents chimed in next, their emails sharp. Mom wrote, "We could have sorted out a room, but Luke's right, this trip was for his family, Clara and Sophie." "You're independent, Daniel. Why the drama?" "Dad's was worse, Luke has a wife and kid to think about. You've always been so selfish, never considering the family. Just deal with it for one holiday." I stared at the screen, the words familiar but hollow. They'd been sidelining me since I was a kid, always propping up Luke while I scraped by. Now they were scrambling to justify it, blaming me for their cruelty. My phone buzzed again. "Luke, Sophie's crying because you left. She wanted to see her uncle. You're breaking her heart." Using his daughter as a shield was low, even for him. I muted the notifications and leaned back, the airport signs looming ahead. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror but said nothing. Outside, the Pacific sparkled faintly, a world away from the resort's false glow. At SeaTac, I booked a red-eye to Chicago, the fare steep but worth it. As I waited at the gate, another email landed, this one from Margaret, addressed to the whole family. Her words were like a gavel. "Today, on Thanksgiving, an act of cruelty tarnished the Evans name. Daniel was excluded, disrespected, and dismissed by those who call themselves family. This will not stand. Effective immediately, I am freezing all financial support to Robert, Linda, and Luke. Your lifestyles, your homes, your cars, your vacations, exist because of my generosity. Those who value vanity over family forfeit that privilege." I read it twice, my pulse quickening. Margaret didn't bluff. This was a reckoning. My phone lit up again, Luke, frantic now, leaving voicemails every few minutes. "Daniel, answer. You gotta talk to Grandma. She's serious, she's cutting me off. I can't pay the mortgage without her. Sophie's school, our cars, what am I supposed to do?" His voice cracked, the smugness gone. My parents' emails followed, their tone shifting from blame to begging. "Daniel, please call your grandmother. Our retirement home deposit, $120,000, is at risk. Our medical coverage ends next month. This is our future." Mom added, "I'm sorry for what I said, but this is a crisis. Help us." The apologies felt forced, their panic real. They were staring down a life without Margaret's safety net, and it terrified them. I boarded the plane, the cabin quiet except for the hum of engines. A guy next to me scrolled through Thanksgiving recipes, oblivious to my world imploding. I pictured the Emerald Crest, where I should have been giving Sophie her journal, maybe telling her to chase real dreams, not her dad's fake ones. Instead, I was 30,000 feet up, free but alone. Luke's next voicemail was a scream, "You're tearing us apart. Convince Grandma, or we're done." My parents' emails grew desperate, "We can't afford healthcare. Do something, Daniel." I powered off my phone, the clouds outside a vast, silent sea. Margaret's email had shifted the ground beneath them, and I felt no urge to soften the fall. They'd built their lives on her money, not their merits. Now they'd face the truth. As the plane banked toward Chicago, I thought of Luke's Instagram, his perfect family posts that wouldn't happen this year. The resort's $250 a plate dinner, the post photos, they'd be absent, replaced by the reality of their choices. I leaned back, the weight of their voices fading. Margaret's words, "Stand on your own feet," were my anchor. I'd walked away not out of weakness, but strength. The family facade was cracking, and I was already on the other side, ready to live without their shadows. Back in Chicago, the city's pulse welcomed me home. My apartment, with its clean lines and view of Lake Michigan, felt like a sanctuary. I slipped back into my routine, coding at the startup from 8 to 6, grabbing coffee at a corner shop, tweaking my investment portfolio on weekends. The Thanksgiving chaos felt like a distant storm, but its ripples were tearing through my family. Luke's Instagram, once a daily showcase of designer sunglasses and rooftop bars, went dark. His last post, from the day before the resort, showed a leather briefcase tagged #BossLife. Now, it was a relic of a lie. My parents' emails, once sharp with blame, softened into something like regret, though still tinged with their old bias. Margaret's decision had stripped away their illusions, and I watched from afar, steady in my own world. A week after I landed, Clara, Luke's wife, called. Her voice was shaky, drained. "Daniel, I found credit card bills Luke hid, tens of thousands. Without your grandmother's money, we can't keep up. We're selling the house, moving to a smaller place. Sophie's switching to public school." She paused, then added, "Luke's a mess. He cries at night. Our marriage, it's cracking." I listened, saying little. Their life, private tutors, luxury SUVs, was a house of cards, and Margaret's email had blown it down. Clara asked if I'd talk to Luke, maybe soften Margaret's stance. I said I couldn't, not after what he'd done. She sighed, resigned, and hung up. I felt a pang for Sophie, but Luke's mess wasn't mine to fix. My parents were reeling too. They'd moved out of their gated Arizona community into a modest condo, their emails detailing the struggle. "Medical bills are piling up," Dad wrote. "We didn't realize how much we leaned on your grandmother. We're sorry for taking Luke's side, Daniel, but he's got a family to support." Mom's message was similar: "We spoiled Luke, ignored you. We see that now, but please, talk to Margaret. Our retirement's falling apart." The apologies were new, but their reflex to shield Luke was old. They were learning, slowly, what life without a safety net felt like. I didn't reply. Their words stirred memories of being the overlooked kid, but I'd built a life beyond their reach. Margaret sent me a note, handwritten, slipped into an envelope with her crisp stationery. "You stood tall, Daniel. Your choice forced them to face their vanity. I'm proud." Her words warmed me, a reminder of the lessons she'd drilled into me: savings over show, substance over flash. I tucked the note into my desk, next to Sophie's journal, still unopened. My life stayed steady: meetings with engineers, dinners at my favorite Thai spot, investment club on Saturdays where we debated stocks over beers. My savings grew, my credit card paid in full each month. I didn't need the Emerald Crest's glitz or my family's approval. My wealth was in my freedom, my peace. Luke's desperation peaked in a late-night voicemail: "Daniel, I can't pay Sophie's school fees. The bank's calling about the cars. I didn't mean it at the resort, okay? Talk to Grandma, please." His voice broke, but I deleted it. His life had been a performance, #DreamLife posts masking debt and dependence. Now, reality was closing in. Clara emailed next, saying they'd moved to a suburb, a 2-bedroom rental. "Sophie's adjusting to the bus," she wrote. "Luke's looking for consulting gigs, but it's rough. He's quieter now, like he's seeing how fake it all was." I felt for her, but their choices weren't my burden. I'd spent years building a life that didn't bend to their whims. My parents' updates grew bleaker. "We're selling the golf cart," Dad wrote. "Healthcare costs are brutal. We lived wrong, Daniel, chasing status. We're trying to change. Mom added, we're sorry for how we treated you. Luke needed us more, we thought, but we failed you. The shift was real, but it didn't erase the past. I kept my distance, focusing on work, a new project analyzing user data, long hours that felt rewarding, not draining. Chicago's winter settled in, snow dusting the streets, and I found comfort in the rhythm of my days. The family's collapse was loud, but my world was quiet, grounded. One evening, I checked my investments, steady gains, no debt. I thought of Luke's flashy posts, my parents' gated community, all gone. Margaret's lesson, stand on your own feet, had saved me from their fate. I pictured Sophie, maybe riding the school bus, free from her parents' pretense. The journal in my drawer was for her, a seed for when she's older, to know real strength comes from within, not likes or labels. As I sipped coffee, the city's lights twinkling outside, I felt no urge to gloat. My family was learning, painfully, what I'd known all along: vanity fades, but self-reliance endures. 3 months after that Thanksgiving, Chicago bloomed with early spring. The lake sparkled under a softer sun, and my life felt richer than ever. I'd been promoted to lead a data science team at the startup, my salary jumping to $180,000. My investments, careful bets on tech and real estate, grew steadily, a cushion for a future I'd built myself. Work was a thrill, diving into complex datasets, mentoring younger coders, shaping projects that could change how we use tech. Outside the office, I joined an investment club, swapping ideas with no-nonsense folks who valued substance over flash. My apartment, with its minimalist furniture and lake view, was my haven, paid for with my own sweat. That Thanksgiving at the Emerald Crest had been a breaking point, but it set me free. My family's world, meanwhile, had reshaped itself. Luke's Instagram stayed silent, a ghost town where #bosslife once reigned. Clara sent a rare update: they'd settled into their suburban rental, Sophie thriving in public school, riding the bus with new friends. Luke's working odd consulting jobs, she wrote. He's humbled, doesn't talk about brands anymore. Our marriage is shaky, but we're trying. I nodded at the screen, no bitterness. Their facade, designer bags, private tutors, had crumbled without Margaret's money, and they were finding a new normal. Sophie, at least, seemed happier, unburdened by her parents' old pretense. I thought of the journal in my drawer, waiting for when she's old enough to understand its message: chase your own path, not applause. My parents had moved on too, their Arizona condo a far cry from their gated estate. Dad's emails were raw: we're budgeting for the first time, Daniel. Medical bills hit hard, but we're managing. We lived for show, spoiled Luke, and pushed you away. We're sorry. Mom's tone had shifted, luxury's fleeting. We're learning to live simply, like you. We failed as parents, but we're trying now. Their words carried weight, a flicker of self-awareness I hadn't seen before. I replied sparingly, keeping boundaries. The years of favoritism didn't vanish with an apology, but I was glad they were waking up, even if it took losing Margaret's support to do it. Margaret sent me a package, a silver watch, sleek but understated, with a note in her elegant script: true wealth is self-made, Daniel. You've proven it. I wore it daily, a reminder of her lessons. She'd always been my compass, teaching me that savings outlast vanity, that dignity comes from standing alone. I kept in touch with her, brief calls about her garden or my latest project, her voice warm with pride. She didn't mention the family much, but her note from December lingered: your choice gave them a lesson they needed. That Thanksgiving had exposed our cracks: Luke's arrogance, my parents' bias, their shared addiction to Margaret's wealth. My walking away forced them to face it. I reflected on that day often, the Emerald Crest's glow fading in the taxi's mirror. Luke's sneer, the real family, had hurt, but it also clarified everything. I'd spent years trying to fit into their world, enduring slights for a scrap of belonging. But standing in that Seattle breeze, booking my flight home, I realized I didn't need them. My life, my career, my home, my peace, was enough. The journal for Sophie, still unopened, was a promise for later, when she could see past her parents' old ways. I pictured giving it to her one day, maybe telling her about Margaret, about building something real. My days now were full but grounded. I'd work late, crunching data, then hit a dive bar with coworkers, laughing over beers. Weekends meant investment meetups or quiet mornings coding side projects. I started mentoring at work, guiding young analysts, seeing my younger self in their hunger. Holidays were spent with friends, real conversations free of pretense. That Thanksgiving taught me what family could be, not blood, but shared values, like the ones Margaret instilled. Luke and my parents were learning too, their lives humbler, their eyes open. Luke's last email was short, "Sophie's happy at school." I was wrong about everything. Thanks for not rubbing it in. I didn't reply, but I hoped he meant it. Standing at my window, Chicago's skyline aglow, I felt a quiet triumph. The city's lights were steady, like my life, hard-earned, debt-free, mine. Margaret's words, "Stand on your own feet," were my truth. I'd built a world that didn't crumble under betrayal or vanity. My family's facade had fallen, and they were rebuilding, just as I'd done years ago. I set new goals, leading my team, maybe starting a consultancy, mentoring more kids like Sophie. The spring breeze stirred the trees outside, whispering renewal. I sipped my coffee, the watch ticking on my wrist, and knew I was exactly where I belonged, alone, but whole.